I've got two data points here, 2012 and 2018. 2012 is just before Jubilee came to power. 2018 is at the end of their first term. If you look at the numbers that have increased the most since Jubilee came to power in absolute terms, is things related to debt. Revenue has increased 90% cumulatively, debt service 280%. Foreign debt alone 870%. In other words, when Jubilee took over, foreign debt, interest on foreign debt was only 9 billion a year. By 2018, it was 84 billion. But of course, the domestic one has grown more because the domestic debt is more expensive. When they took over, the interest was 17.6 billion. By 2018, 240 billion. And these numbers keep going up. Debt itself has gone up 200% from 1.4 up to this point was 4.8 trillion. It is now, I believe, 7.5 as we speak. But the economy in nominal terms has only expanded 104 terms, 38% when you adjust for inflation. Two things which have got negative numbers: revenue as a percentage of GDP and investment as a percentage of GDP. So those two things, when you borrow money for investment, public investment, you're borrowing money for public investment, crowding private investment. You're building infrastructure so that the private sector can also invest and expand the economy. And then that private investment, crowding in private investment and private business, expands your tax base. And that tax base, you are then able to use that to pay your debt. That's the business model. So you borrow to finance catalytic private investments like infrastructure. That crowds in private investment. Private investment then expands the economy. You get a bigger piece of that pie, and then that is what you use to pay your debt. But now what you see is a situation where you're borrowing heavily. You are putting money in this public infrastructure, but in fact, your private investment is shrinking, and therefore your revenue also is shrinking. So your capacity to service that debt is actually falling, which is no surprise then that you can see that debt service as a percentage of revenue, and this is interest only, has more than doubled from 11% to 23%. So almost a quarter of revenue in 2018 was paying interest on debt. It is much more than that as we speak today. So these are important economic contexts, because those who know that I've been railing against this borrowing and infrastructure spending for a couple of years, and many people say that I was anti-progress because I'm preventing government from investing. And I said, look, before you get returns from those investments, you're going to have gone bankrupt. Because you always have to ask yourself, how do you pay for it? And many people actually were not paying attention to that. Anything you borrow and invest has to be able to pay.